All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here tonight. Welcome to the Prospect Podcast, episode 240. I can't believe it's been that many, but it really is kind of how we roll with it. Coach Schumann may or may not be joining us later. His team was fortunate enough to win a first-round playoff game. So those 10-year-olds are rocking. Good for them. We have a great guest with us today, Jean-Marc Rasberry, Director of Strength and Conditioning at Jackson Christian in Tennessee. Coach, man, really appreciate you taking the time coming on. Obviously, we know it's, it's tough. It's busy season and whatnot. And, as we go through, but Coach, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome, man. Thank you for letting me come on and just ramble on for a little bit.
It's it, man. We just talk shop. Coach, give us kind of your background, where you got, where you're at now. What's the story? Why are you where you are? And, give us that whole gig.
Sure. And I did a little research before kind of coming on here. I know this is kind of a football-esque podcast, so I'll talk about that first. So I was a football player, played football for 13 years. When I was an eighth grader, I moved up to a small town in Illinois called Metamora. I'm originally from Tennessee, but I moved to a small town called Metamora. They're kind of known for football in central Illinois, kind of a big football town. So I kind of fit in right away, kind of as an eighth grader, and then kind of developed from there. Metamora had a great system of developing players, and I was blessed to kind of be there and develop that with them. So I was blessed enough to go play Division III football at Eureka College. I played center. I was kind of a smaller lineman. I was 5'10", 190 pounds. Playing offensive line, that's extremely light. So went to Eureka College. I was studying kinesiology, kind of exercise science, athletic training background. I knew I wanted to work with athletes. I just didn't know in what retrospect. Did I want to go through rehab side? Did I want to do sport performance? What did I want to go to PT school? Did I want to be an athletic trainer? Did I want to be a personal trainer? I didn't really know which direction. And I was blessed to have my first own strength coach at Eureka College. His name is Matt Friend. He was the head strength conditioning coach when I was there, and then he was the, I think, associate director of strength and conditioning at Bradley University. But he showed me all the ins and outs. I interned under him for, I think, about 6 months, I believe. And then, of course, graduated with my bachelor's in kinesiology, played 3 years of football. I got hurt my junior year, and I wanted to take my senior year and focus on what I wanted to do because I was already a junior in college. I didn't know what to do. So I didn't know what direction I wanted to go. And so I didn't really know what I wanted to do till I was probably 2 years out of college. So I graduated college, got this kinesiology degree. I thought I could take on hell with a water gun. You can't tell me nothing. And I got humbled. I got humbled really, really quickly. Because in the strength world, we take the CSCS, the Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist test. And I failed that thing by a long shot. It wasn't even close. And so I worked in various places. I worked in like an acute physical therapy setting under as a tech. So I get to learn under PTs and PTAs around different areas up in Illinois and down here in Tennessee. Around about the year mark of moving back to Tennessee after I graduated college, I wanted to. First, I met my wife, right? And I wasn't getting paid that much as a tech. So I knew to have a life together with my wife, I had to find something else that would pay more money. And I knew I wanted to work with either athletes or kids or kind of the combination of both. I thought I wanted to be a football coach. I thought it'd be awesome to be a head football coach somewhere. So I volunteered at middle school and coached football. That was my first coaching gig. Was there for a year, and then a local high school was looking for, and this was in the inner city school, was looking for assistants. So I got the opportunity to coached that freshman team after a year of coaching middle school football,
Oh,
and
God bless you.
and got to learn. I got to teach freshmen how to lift for a little bit, and I thought that was kind of a cool little thing. I was like, you know what? I know somewhat of what I'm doing, but I'm not a director of strength conditioning. I don't think I'm 5'10", 190, 200 pounds at max. Like, I'm not a big guy. I'm very soft spoken, which the kids will tell you now that I'm not, but at the time I was. So
We get
got to
there.
that
It
point.
changes. We get there.
It
You know what I mean? We get
it,
there. Listen,
it definitely
they're real quick to say one thing, but listen, their actions bring about a lot of different things every single freaking time. It doesn't really matter. When you're working with young guys, like that MO changes real quick, right? Depending on your clientele and what you're working with, buddy. We've all been there.
Yeah. And I mean, I was just there. I was like, hey, this is what I want you to do. Like, very kind of direct, but I was like, no, it's like day 3 there. It's like, hey, this is what you need to do. Here's your hand placement. Here's your stance, stuff like that. And I remember one of the first times a kid smarted out to me. I was like, what? Yeah, kind of get riled up a little bit, and I think it just kind of sailed off from there.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I was like, I think I could do this like kind of strength and conditioning thing just for football. Like, I did it when I was in high school and college. Like, I could do the same thing here. So stuck around there for a couple years. I got to be promoted to varsity. I taught long snappers and running backs for a little bit, and of course assisted with the weight room. Kind of got my feet wet that way, and then I kind of went to a couple of different schools, trying to do kind of the same thing. I was an O-line coach. I was special teams coordinator. I did strength and conditioning for softball. I did strength and conditioning for volleyball. I did strength and conditioning for track, and I was a head track coach for a year and kind of bounced all over the place until I got my CSCS and I got to Jackson Christian. And that was kind of the place and they let me do what I wanted to do there. And they took me on
Right.
as a full-time director, even at the very limited experience that I had in strength and conditioning. But I did have some experience, especially in the high school setting. So this is going on year 2 here at Jackson Christian. And I mean, we have excelled tenfolds since I've been here. And I got to give credit to the guy who was here before me because he did an awesome job laying a foundation down.
He said it. He said it. Yep.
And I walked into something kind of more established than just starting from scratch.
Right.
And I'm blessed 100%. For that.
Right. Coach, it's a hell of a journey. And look, I think when you, as guys come up, right, and you're trying to get the feel of what do I want to do, the greatest teacher is experience, right? I mean, even when you're talking on the football field, you want to get those young guys at it and like in it as quick as possible, right? Because it's just different, the experience aspect of it. Look, I went through a similar situation when I was teaching, right? Do I want to teach younger kids? Do I want to teach middle school, high school, right? You kind of want to bounce around. I mean, inner city, suburban, right? It was, you kind of just to get your feel of what your niche is, right? Because we all have it. We just have to find it. And you also want to be happy. I know, and look, believe me, I understand the dollars thing when it comes to it, because at the end of the day, you got to live and you got to eat and you got to function in the real world. But at the same time, like, I was not about to sacrifice like my morals, my values, like what I really believed in just for a paycheck, right? And I wasn't going to be the guy that was going to wake up every morning miserable going to work, right? Because, it was always told to me that, look, man, find what you love to do and figure out a way to make money doing it, right? And you'll never work a day in your life. So it's awesome for you, Coach, to have kind of found something. So tell me a little bit about the job itself. Do you work with all programs within the school? Do you work with certain sports? Like, how does that work for you?
So we are blessed in the way that our kids have a class called athletics / strength and conditioning that they can come in and actually train throughout the day. And sometimes the schedule don't work out in the kids' favor. We're a highly academic school as well. So you got kids taking honors and AP classes, college classes. that kind of interfere with
Oh
my
yeah.
class. And I know that, look, I'm a realist here. I know at the end of the
Yeah.
day, sometimes my class is going to suffer or it's going to be put in the back burner of things. But we also
Right.
have after school options as well that our sport coaches do really, really well at promoting and saying, hey, on Mondays and Wednesdays, that is a girls only lift. If you're not doing XYZ, if you're not in practice, you're not doing this, you need to be down there. And the same thing with the guys. That's kind of where I found a little bit of our middle school kids coming in is after school. Our baseball and our basketball coach do a really, really good job of migrating those kids down there because if they're not forced or I guess directed is a better term to use, they're not going to go in the weight room out of their own free will. And I can say
Right.
that for a few of our sports and a few other kids, but for the most part, the buy-in is there. Again, the guy that set that foundation for me kind of established that why this is a priority before I even got there. So I had that to work with, right off the rip. So
Right.
that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the most, the most important things we see about it, right? Is, you go to some of these programs and you're forcing guys to lift, you're forcing guys to work out, right? And some of that, it trickles down, right? If those guys aren't weight room guys or they don't want to be in there, right? It just changes the whole dynamic of everything that you're doing in terms of that, right? But you go to a place or you have a system or a culture of like, hey, this is what we do. We lift and we work out and we're in the weight room. And the buy-in from coaches, I think, is one of the biggest aspects of the whole thing. Look, we're all coaches at the end of the day, but if somebody's being forced to do something, right, against their will, you're getting all of it, right? Like it's not going to be a good experience for anybody across the board. So the fact that your coaches kind of push that, obviously, look, in today's day and age, you have to lift. And I don't care what sport you are as a high school kid. Look, we even start, around like the 7th, 8th grade, right? When you're still going through it and developing, and look, it's not about going in there and pushing weight. It's about going in there and getting acclimated to the weight room culture or, what goes on in there and then kind of learning the lifts, right? So dive into that a little bit, Coach. What kind of, are you an Olympic lift guy? Or you want to, what is your basis, your kind of foundation, for your program itself at your school?
So that's kind of a loaded question. So I guess stay with
Loaded
me for your
question, buddy. Like that's why you
yeah.
can take it wherever you want, my man.
So I was at a smaller school, or I guess the kid size, like the student size, was actually bigger. But I was at a public school before I got to Jackson Christian, and I mean, we did the Olympic lifts. We did all of it. We did snatches. We did hang cleans. We did
Oh,
hip
damn.
cleans. We did. I mean, we were at it. But
Look at snatches. Look, that's funny because last week we had, I can't remember which coach it was. We were talking about snatching and he was all in it. And it's the first guy we've had in a long time talk about doing snatches, with the high school world. And it was really funny. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, it was the same guy that like he said he never cleaned. They don't clean. They don't do hang cleans. And okay, now that's like, here's another freaking, we can go down that rabbit hole and
yep.
aim at all that. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. It's just I heard the snatch part is like amazing because it's like, oh hell, all right, good. Like, I'm like, we're big into the Tony Holler system now, right? Like the feed the cats, and we're kind of, more sprint-based football and that kind of world. Like I'm really excited. Like we've talked to a lot of those guys, Tony Villani and Brian Kula, right? We've had all those guys on. And for my program, because I coach high school football here in New Jersey, public school, our roster size with freshmen is probably around 75, 80, but we have a phenomenal weight room culture when it comes to the football itself. Other sports, not so much, but we have a really big weight room, everything you could ask for, right? Like we have it all. So the culture's there. The last couple of years, we've kind of instilled a little bit of the sprint-based football stuff when it comes to, like our freshmen lift on game days. And we're kind of tracking it, the freshmen are kind of the guinea pigs in this whole deal, which is kind of fun. It's awesome to see those younger guys, but it's interesting, right? And a lot of that comes back to it. But go ahead, Coach, continue. Talk about what you guys do.
Oh no, you're good. So you were talking about like, do we snatch? Do we lippy lift? The school before me that I went to, yeah, we did all that. We snatched it, we lift. I mean, we cleaned, we did all the segments into whatever, and I mean, that was great. I mean, we had good results. I mean, we went from kids, cleaning 185 to 225, 245. I think one kid went up to 285. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, you talk about like a testosterone filled room. That was it. Um, but when I got to Jackson Christian, I took upon myself. I was like, I've done cleans for like the last 3 years at some of these schools. I wonder if I can still achieve what I want to achieve without them. And I think it was more of like a personal challenge. Like, can I program something for these kids without doing any Olympic movements? But we did plows out the wazoo. I mean, we threw med balls. We tossed them, almost every day, man. Um, we do a lot of the sprint based football stuff, um, but not just like football sprinting. All of our kids sprint.
It's really kind of spreading like crazy, right? Like it's pretty wild to see what Tony does, and I love it because he talks about like, hey man, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, and I just got popular. You know what I'm saying? So it's really all about one, the ability to do what you want in terms of above you, the administration saying, hey man, this is your world, and then the coaches buying in as well, especially with your title. And look, I'll be very honest, in New Jersey, there are not many schools that have a guy like you. Like, it's just not. If it is, maybe he's got a title, but he's more of like, you're a phys ed teacher, right? We don't have athletic periods in Jersey. We don't have spring ball when it comes to football or anything like that. So your weight room time is either in the morning, if a guys are willing to do that, which our program is. We open this, our first class starts at like 7:10, so the kids they come in. There's a group that comes in the morning at like 5:30 in the off season, and it's only football, and that's by choice because it's open to everybody. And then after school we get out, bell rings around 1:30 ish, so we're out really early, which is amazing. Yeah, it's wild. It's awesome. And then you see like the weight room is like, I mean, it's like a jungle in there, buddy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look, football's in there and we're doing our aspect. You have the public, like, just the kids that go to school that want to come in. You're at your Gen Pop, like they come in. Depending on season, you'll have a team in there, right? But we have the square footage and size to be able to house that, and guys can do that, which is amazing. But you see, it's always different with culture itself coming in, especially when you have certain programs or what guys are doing, and hey, this is up on the board, right? Or hey, this is up. We're not that type of, it's not, hey, here's your workout, go do it. I mean, I'm in there, the head coach is in there, right? And we're focused. But there is not like a director of strength and conditioning guy that's like, hey, this is what we do. Now for football, we have a guy that we kind of tab that, you know what I mean? Like tag it. He does the warm up and he does, you know what I mean? Like we all program it together, which is cool. But I think it's really one of the negatives of Jersey that more guys don't have a title like that can come in and be a director of strength and conditioning for all programs across the board. Because look, I mean, nowadays it's a little easier. Somebody can just, you coach chat GBT, hey, give me a girls basketball weight room workout, and they'll throw it up on the board, right? But to have somebody that specializes in that, like, hey, this guy went to school for that. Hey, this guy's worked at this place doing only that. It's just something, man, I really wish there was more of it here in Jersey. I hope it continues to grow a little bit. But, even the guys that do that, they have so many other hats to wear that it's really hard for them to focus on the kids themselves, but it's hard. Quick question, how many kids in the entire school itself for where you're at?
So from ninth grade, because we're early village, which is like infants, all the way up to 12th grade. So we could literally have kids from
they got that Jackson Christian culture from the jump, buddy. Like that's the
right. And I think from ninth grade to 12th grade, I think we have 300, maybe 250 kids, 350, 250 to 350, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So it's
So,
relatively small. So every
yeah.
name walking into the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And obviously when you're talking about public, private, that is what it is. And I've coached at both, right? So the private is more of an intimate setting. What I've also seen is that those parents and those kids are bought in to kind of the process, right? Public school, it's kind of just, hey, this is where I go. I'm in it. Yeah, I play football, but hey, it is what it is kind of thing. Whereas private school wise, man, it was like, hey, dude, like we got a game tomorrow. You got to back off. You know what I mean? Like they're always chomping at the bit. Parents are chomping at the bit. Obviously, they're checks, right? So that matters. I think that plays a role. The buy-in. So that's interesting. How do you get the kids? I mean, you said you had really good buy-in based off of the foundation laid by the previous guy, right? But how do you continue how do you continue that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good question. It was a question that I asked myself before day one of walking to the weight room or field or whatever. I was like, how can I get these kids, one, to believe in what I'm telling them is the truth, and keep them bought in throughout a longer process, right? Not about what we're doing this week. It's about where we're going, right? It's the longevity of our field. And
Absolutely.
part of it is that we have some technology here that I
Oh,
utilize. Things like
that's
things
awesome.
like things like laser timers, right? You start seeing sprint times go down, that is a huge indicator that we're getting faster. That's a concrete evidence that our kids can see that. But also too, like I had to lean on some of those things like sprint times, like velocity based training, like our jump mat, like our GPS units, because I'm not the big bad strength coach that everyone has got in their mind, right? I'm not that huge,
Yeah.
right? I'm 190 pounds, maybe 195 if I'm having a fat day.
Listen,
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
hard enough being a 40-year-old out of shape former safety that now looks like a guard, right? Like 100 pounds overweight. Like every day goes through my mind when I'm telling guys, "Hey, man, you got to run. Hey, you got to do this." Like if I was a player, I'd look at me and be like, "Coach, what are we talking about here?" You know what I mean? I love that you bring that up because to me, even being on the other side of it where it doesn't work for me, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't look the part, right? But I think, like, especially in today's day and age, one, for me personally, there's no excuse, right? Like, I got to get into it and I have to get back to what it was, right? Because I just think when you're talking about and you're preaching, lead by example and do the right things and all this other stuff. Like, how do I sit there as a coach and preach this to my players when I don't live it in the weight room? I want them to do this. And okay, yeah, well, I did that and I used to, but dude, come on. Like, if you're looking at it and looking at the part, and look, it's kind of funny too that you bring that up because you look at all these strength coaches in like college programs, right? They're the guy on the sideline, right? Like, whistle, no sleeves, and it's snowing. Right, like they're always they got a handlebar mustache, or they just do crazy shit, right? And that's part of it, right? That's always the reel that you see where the guy's headbutting people, he's headbutting helmets, he don't have a helmet on, right? Like strength coaches are a little different, but I think and especially for me personally, like I don't have to be there in the weight room in the off season, right? Like stipend coaches in Jersey, I mean, you're basically getting paid August to December, and we know that's not what it takes to be great, right? Those kids need to see me in a different light. And for me as a coach, I like to see them in a different eyes going on behind the scenes, or I know a kid that gets emotional, or, they just start to tease stuff when they get comfortable in that aspect. And that allows me, I think, to be a better coach during the actual season because I have a gauge and a temperature on who these guys actually are, right? And we've done a couple little things, right? Especially with the morning group because it's specifically football. You know what I mean? Like, dude, it's something so little as like, hey, when there's 10, 15 minutes left in their lift, I'll go turn the showers on for them so it's warm. You know what I mean? Like, I'll bring some breakfast bars for them or some fruit so they can get out and go. Not that they can't go to the calf before the class starts, but just that they feel a little extra, or that it's more of a higher level type of like, hey man, here's a training table with all your goodies that when you go to, if you want to get to like what you say and play college football at the level you want, buddy, you're going to come out of that weight room with a protein shake waiting for you. You know, it's, I think the little things like that especially kids now, they flock to that. They buy into that. Show them that you care a little bit more than quote you really should. You know what I'm saying? And then the buy-in is unbelievable, right? And then when I'm asking them for that, to push on that extra rep, they're going to be willing to do that because, hey man, coach was here with me in February when there was 5 inches of snow on the ground at 5:30. You know, he was here. He doesn't have to be here, but he is. So I think that's a real important part. And look, our audience, like we have coaches on here and we talk to guys all over the country, right? And it's so interesting to hear how guys make those connections because everybody does it and there's 1,000 ways to win and skin a cat. But when your kids are comfortable with knowing who you are, right, or seeing you kind of outside of that specific sport or whatever, I think it just takes it to a level. I mean, you can agree or disagree. I just think that's what works. I really do. The younger you get them, like, and they see you, like now they see you out at their basketball game, or you go check out their, you know, if they're in the goddamn play, like, you go to the play, dude. Like they want it, and the first thing, hey coach, what's going on, coach? That's awesome, you know. Get like that to them. That might be the world, right? Like they might not have that at home. You might be that big brother or that father figure or whatever it is. Make those connections. And then I just think you get more out of each kid.
Yeah, absolutely. And a story with that is this past year, I have the honor of training our girls here as well. And I don't know if you
They're the
ever
best.
trained.
Listen, I coach girls flag
Oh my
football here in
gosh,
Jersey.
man.
It's amazing, bro. Girls are
awesome.
amazing, brother. They listen. They're so literal. It's like, hey, run 5 yards and turn around and catch the ball. And it's like, yeah, they're like, coach, you told me to go. I'm like, yeah, but you kind of gotta like move a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's just great. Girls are a different breed. I have a 2-year-old daughter, dude. It's like exciting to really kind of see it and how they develop. But you're real fortunate, man. You get to work with girls. That's awesome.
Yeah, and they'll come to the weight room. It's like, hey, we got to get into. Are you going to come to our game? And part of me is like, you know what?
Right.
You know, let me try to find, and I'll try to do it with every sport too, not just our female athletes, but like,
Absolutely.
you know, every kid that, you know, if I know that, you know, I got a soccer kid, I'm going to try to go to that soccer game. Football, I'm always there on the sidelines every Friday, so I see those jokers 5 days a week. So that's a plus. I see them all the time. But like those other athletes that I don't
Right.
get to see as much, or I don't get to have that much time with, but I still have, you know, they come in and train and, you know, kind of get in and out. I try to go to some of their games and some of their events and things that, you know, matter to them, because I think that presence is important
Yeah.
for not just my job, but like any other coach's job. It'd be the same way if, you know, if you have a football guy, let's say he's graduated, you know, 4 years from your program, and you get an invite to his wedding. I think it's kind of that same mindset. You know, it's important
Greatest
to be
feeling in
there
the
for
world,
those
brother.
moments.
Greatest feeling in the world. It's the
Yeah, I think
greatest
it's just
feeling in the world when you get that email 2 or 3 years. I mean, because look, at the end of the day, we're developing young men, right? Or women, right? Like we're developing these guys to go be good citizens and that type of thing, right? Like I understand that it's about a sport and it's about winning and it's about all that other kind of stuff, but it's also about developing them as people, as humans, right? I want my guys to be the leaders in the classroom, right? Like if somebody's screwing off, like I want them to be the ones that are like, hey buddy, like that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? Hold doors, say please and thank you. I'm old school when it comes to that. That's how I was raised. That's kind of the program that I'm in right now. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'll tell a quick funny story. We actually had a player go to our athletic director, right, and express his feelings about our head coach. And in that meeting, he told the and quote to the AD, you know, coach only cares about making us really good men, right? He doesn't care that much about winning. kind of funny, right? And you're like, buddy, we care about winning, but just to see that that's how he sees it, right? Like, tells me we're doing something right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at the end of the day, you coach people. You don't coach. Well, you coach the sport, but at the end of the day, it's about the Jimmys and Joes, right? It's about those kids.
Yes.
And if you can get
Yeah.
that impact of coach cares about my well-being, I mean, that's another reason why kids buy in.
Right.
If they don't think that you, if they
Absolutely.
don't think, if they don't think that you don't care about them, they'll shut down.
Right.
Why would I go? Why would I
100%.
go extra
Why am I
yard
going to work for
for
this guy? He doesn't give a shit about me. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly?
it's why you give like,
Exactly.
hey man, how was school today? Hey man, how's your mom doing? How's your sister? Right? Like, I know your brother's playing at, college, this so-and-so college. Like, I've been checking up on him, man. He's doing really good. Like, oh hell, like coach gives a shit. You know what I'm saying? Now look, some they'll yes you to death, turn around and be like, kick rocks, coach. Don't really give a shit. But it's about the masses, right? I mean, I know at least with football, I'm working with a roster of 70 dudes, right? It's why I love doing the sub varsity games or JV, right? Because you can connect with those younger guys on a different level and you get to see them kind of as they grow and progress into, mature adults that are going to be out in the real world, right? One of the greatest feelings too is when a teacher comes to you and says, hey, so-and-so football player, he's a really good freaking kid. You know what I mean? Like he does what he's supposed to and all those kind of things. Like to me, that kind of warms my heart, right? Like you're more than just, touchdowns and tackles. I always say coach the kid, not the player, and especially for younger coaches, if there's one thing that I can tell those guys or give a piece of advice, it's make those connections, man, because it's really going to be awesome to see how it works. And I literally have guys that will run through a brick wall because that's how dumb we are. But hey, that's a whole different podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I also now know that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know this kid ain't a 4.0 GPA. I know he struggles to get a 3.0, but he works his ass off. Like, you got to know those things about who your players are, right? Like, hey, this guy might look good, really in shorts and a t-shirt, but on Friday night, he's going to piss down his leg, dude, and he ain't doing much for us. But he looks really good getting off the bus first, or throwing up 315 or squatting 505. That don't mean shit, right? Like, I mean, it does, and it looks great when you rank, record, and publish, because I think that's a whole different beast of it, right? When you rank, record, and publish, kind of touched on it a little bit with the technology aspect. Look, man, when you start ranking people and putting down numbers and guys see their name lower on a list, dude, that flips a different type of switch. Touch on that a little bit, Coach. Do you rank, record, and publish, and do you kind of get those numbers? And obviously, most weight rooms have that big board of, hey, here's the max squat that everything through here, and all of those kind of things. Do you do any of that?
So I'll kind of dive into that portion. Yes, not as consistently as I want to, but yes. I used to do like a graphic leaderboard and post it on social media,
Right.
and then tag
Right.
some of the kids in it because
And we know
it
that's their world, brother. You tag them,
oh
it's over, buddy. It is over.
oh
And if there's one thing about Jersey, we get especially the place where I'm at. I'm like central Jersey-ish, like down the shore, right? Like, and it's a different culture kind of down here. The short conference itself broken up, and but it's like a good old boy club. It's been around. It's been known to always have really, really good football. And we have really good media coverage here. So when these guys start seeing their names pop up on some of these graphics, it adds a whole different level of, oh shit, like it is. Yeah, buddy, your name's on that list, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, like you're tagged. So here we go, right? Is it the same in Tennessee? Because here in Jersey, man, it is, Instagram famous. Like, can I get TikTok follower? Same thing.
yeah, and I love this quote from someone said a little bit of competition and trash talking one another does some good for one another. Oh, hey, I'm not fashion,
Yes, it
or
does.
this cat is not faster than me. Well, apparently, yes, he is. And you get to hurt feelings
Absolutely.
really, really quickly. And you know what? I was like, how about you try harder?
That's it, buddy. Look, man, like there are some things you can control, there's some things you can't control, but we just lined it up and he smoked you. So what are you gonna do? You gonna sit here and oh, I didn't have the right shoes, or hey, I slipped, or how about like, hey, this is what it is, bro, and let's rock. You know, even for us, when we break down our program, obviously we work off of percentages. And when those guys, when we put those maxes on the wall with the algorithm that breaks it down into, hey, you did 225, right? When guys start looking at that, buddy, it's like, hey, okay. Or hey guys, we're going broad jump today. Let's see what we got, right? For the next 2 weeks, it's coach, can you break out the tape measure so I can broad? Coach, can you break out the tape measure so I can broad? There's something about rank, recorded, published, putting guys on a list that adds a whole level of here we go and get in line or you're gonna fall behind, bud.
Right.
And especially when a younger guy does it, right?
Yep.
Better than that senior. Like, here we go, right? And like you said, a healthy level of competition. We're not talking about decimating a kid because, he can barely get the bar off his chest. That's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about like, hey, man, this guy is the receiver that plays in front of you. Well, he can do 10 pull-ups. You can only do 2, right? Like, what are we going to do about that? Are you going to skip reps? Are you going to not show up, right? Because he's here 4 days a week, right? You're here intermittently. Oh, well, I have another sport. Well, that's your excuse? How about we open the weight room at 5:30? Get your ass out of bed, right? Oh, I don't have a ride. Shit, man. I've had guys on them motorized scooters in January showing up to the weight room with, hands that are literally frozen because, coach, I don't have gloves, but like, hey, buddy, I'll get you some gloves. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you working. And that goes with the whole trust the process thing as well, which back to buy-in, right? Like, look, I'm sure you spend 30 minutes before you go to bed on your damn phone. Well, how about you go and pack a healthy lunch or break it down so you have that shit? That's the level of commitment that it takes to get to the higher levels. And some guys, like, it's a rude awakening when, hey, I think I should have a scholarship. Well, do you? Do you do everything that you possibly can to get that? I don't know if guys do, a majority of them. I'd love to see the percentages because I've been coaching for 16 years, man, and there's not many that are fully bought into the level of commitment that, when they get to that next level is eye-opening, right? That's why so many guys quit after freshman year because, man, it is now, look, you're now surrounded by 70 other dudes that are bought in. What level of buy-in? You may have been bought in at your little tiny high school or your little short conference, whatever it is. But now you're in a bigger bowl, buddy, with a lot of fish that want to swim faster than you. How do you handle that, right? And I think that's something every kid kind of questions, like, hey, do I really want to do this? Because that commitment level is something way different than the expectation. And we try to set that and be transparent about that. Hey, man, you told me you want to play college football. So guess what? I'm going to coach harder and different than the guy that when he graduates is going to go, fix my HVAC unit, right? That's a different type of cat.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we talk about kids, about, do you really want to achieve? Like, we talk a lot to our kids about goals, we want to talk about what do they want to achieve. Like, do you want to play college football? No. Okay. Then how can we make you the best football player right now? Right? Your senior year, do you want to be riding the bench or do you want to play? Like, what do you want?
100%.
And I think that's a great thing for us as coaches to reflect it back to them. saying, what do you
100%.
want?
That transparency, right? Like that transparency. Look, we do something every year, end of the season, it's still fresh. We do exit meetings, right? And we sit down with each kid individually and we talk about it. Hey man, this is what we thought of you this year. This is kind of how you came across perception wise. Your actions said this, but what are your words saying, right? Like, what do you really want to do? You want to play at that next level? All right, man. Well, we can't be taking Harry Potter as a class if we want to go to freaking, Richmond or whatever your goals. You know what I'm saying? Some of these guys, and I have both ends of the spectrum, right? Like I have guys that, work most of the day and then come play football. And they understand that, hey, I'm going to go work. I want to go work. And I'm not here to deter that. I'm for anybody that has a freaking plan and wants to execute it, right? Because to me, that's somebody that's bought in, right? Just because you're not bought into being a college football player doesn't mean that you can't have a really, really good high school career and create some memories for yourself and ultimately your team, which should be above the self. I'm kind of starting to question that, like with now day and age with the transfer portal and, NIL and all that stuff. You see the whole team aspect kind of going away, right? In terms of guys are more playing for the name on the back of the jersey than on the front. Whereas, as the old head in the room, it was about team first. It didn't matter. Coach, you want me to go play guard? I'll go play guard, right? Like, oh, you want me to run down on kickoff too? Absolutely, coach. I'll do that. I don't know if kids are like that anymore. I'm sure you get a couple here or there that are, willing to do that. But it's about really that buy-in and the trusting within the process for each individual. And they have to find their own path too, right? And we have to allow that as coaches. We can kind of, set the barriers a little bit or put up the guardrails and like, hey, maybe you don't want to go down this road. Maybe you want to lean this way. But you can only lead a horse to water before they can drink it, right? I can't force you to drink it. And if I have to, that already might be part of the problem. And I think that with social media, all guys want to do is compare themselves to others, right? And we could talk about numbers and all that stuff, right? Like, just talk about a 40 time. These kids are comparing themselves to guys at the NFL Combine. You're talking about the top under 1% in the world, and you want to run that time. Buddy, you're a 16-year-old, 5'8", freaking whatever. Don't compare yourself to that. Like, strive for that 100%. But let's be realistic in our goals here, right? Like, let's look for a 5-week plan that puts 10 pounds on your bench. If you can constantly show me improvement, buddy, I'll work with that all freaking day rather than the guy that's uber talented, jumps out of the gym, runs whatever 40, but has a shit attitude. Give me the kid that wants to buy in and is going to do everything that I say because they trust me. They trust in their coaching. And it's our job as coaches to now take that and run with it. And I think a lot of coaches are in it for themselves. And that's not what it's about. If you're in this to put your name in the lights or to get Instagram famous, this ain't for you. Because you sure as hell ain't doing it for the money at the high school or the younger level. That's not a monetary gain is the furthest thing from anybody expects, right? I think when you can get those kids though to kind of buy into it with all the things that we've said previously, go into their other things, having those hard conversations. Sometimes those hard conversations, nobody's willing to have. Again, being the old head in the room, you get in the car after a game and your parents are saying, hey man, like, why didn't you do this? Or, what they backed your coach is what I'm trying to say, right? Like, supported and trusted that the coaches were doing what they thought was right to go win the freaking game. I've seen it start to turn in the last couple of years more so where the kids get in the car and parents just want to tell, well, your coach sucks or he needs to run this play or that was bullshit. Like, you're supposed to be on our side here. We're already fighting an uphill battle of trying to win games because winning any game, especially in football, is really, really difficult, And I think without the encouragement and the role that the parent plays is just so either positive or negative. I mean, think about just time in general. It's why strength coaches are so different, especially if you want to talk college football, right? Like the strength coach is with the kid more than the actual coach, just based off rules, right? So your strength guys have a different level of I don't think intimacy is the right word, but they have more of that connection because they just see the guys more, right? They're just with them more. And it's hard though when you're fighting an uphill battle with parents. What is parent involvement like at where you're at in comparison to some of the other schools that you've been at?
We're such a smaller school too that like you kind of get to know the parents a little bit more. Some of the parents do
Hell
work
yeah.
at the school. So like, I walk by and there's a baseball kid's mom. Hey, how's my son doing in class? And we start to have that conversation. Hey, he's telling
Right.
me he's doing this in class.
Is
why
he?
we're doing
Is he?
Hey, we're pretty good about that. But like that was one of the things that
Well,
I
you're
had to do here
fortunate, buddy. You're fortunate.
one of the things I had to do at Jackson Christian was, I had a lot of questions come my way from parents, from admin, from coaches, from athletes. Like, why are we doing this certain thing at this point at the year? Why are we doing this in the off season? Explain that. Not I think in a disrespectful kind of way. I think it was more of something that they're like, I've never seen this before, or I've never
Right.
seen a high school kid do this before. Why we're doing this? A lot of that, this last football off season, we did tempos. So 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds down, lowering, slow and controlled. A little bit of muscle fibers start to stretch out.
Right.
We started to
Different
pack
way
on
to
some
do it.
size. Yeah, and I mean a lot of our kids,
Yeah.
I think all of our kids didn't do that. So they asked me, it's like, why are we doing this?
Right.
Like, I was like, give me about, we're like in week 3. It's like, give me about 5 more weeks, and I'll show you why. And we start seeing bench go up, squats go up. Our sprint times are, going down, obviously, because we're getting faster, we're getting stronger. We sprint at least once, twice a week. Like some of those things kind of add up, and then the kids start to kind of see that for themselves, and they start to see it. It results in their body. Their body starts to change, and when their body starts to change, they become a little bit more confident in our young men, our young ladies.
Oh yeah.
They start to see the kind of the shoulders peek out a little bit. For our guys, they start to have that barrel chest and the back muscles. For our
Yeah,
girls,
buddy.
it may be seeing their bicep for one of the first times in their life. They're like, holy crap, I didn't know that I had a bicep. You know what I'm saying? Like it's some of
I
those
didn't know
things
that
that
existed.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's my job. I think I instill a lot of confidence, and I think a strength coach, because what you said, we're around athletes a lot, and I think we influence a lot of how a kid perceives themselves and how we can instill some confidence in them. And if I can get a guy kind of get the shoulders back, pop the chest out, it's like I'm feeling great today. I think that's a direct correlation in what we do.
I totally agree. I really do. Especially when guys start to see the changes, right? When a kid sees that his bench has gone up or is consistently going up, right? I heard a coach quote this the other day, and I'm going to screw it up in some way, shape, or form, but he basically said that high school is the most influential time in terms of wanting to be cool or really giving a shit about what others think. Because as we get older, you know what I mean? You kind of just like, okay, whatever, dude. Like, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock. Like, say what you want. You know what I'm saying? But in high school, that's not the thing, right? Like, everybody wants to sit at the cool table. Everybody wants to be cool. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to be at the bottom of the list. You know what I'm saying? All of those type of things play a role. And if you can now show them, and the confidence thing is like, that's a great point to make, because a lot of our guys, even though they might look like they're confident, every one of them struggles with self-confidence. It's just what it is, going through puberty, growing up as a kid, maturing. Like, I think that's part of it. And now if you can throw that physical, like they start to see the physical changes, right? Like, coming in as a freshman, that short little dumpy, whatever he is. And then all of a sudden he starts to gain some muscle or he starts to lean up, like, right. Just now, one, it's naturally happening because they're going through puberty and their body's changing anyway, right? They don't know that. They don't understand that part of it, right? Now they just connect. Holy shit, I'm going to the weight room every day and doing this. And now, now I look like this. I'm going to now do that more so, or buy in even more. It's almost like you're tricking them in a way. You're openly telling them this is going to happen, but they sure as shit don't believe you. But then when they start to see it, right? And then the guys around them start to see it, like, oh shit, Johnny just went up 15 pounds on his bench. Like, he always does reps. You know what I'm saying? Like, or he comes to the 5:30 lift and then has basketball practice in the afternoon. Like, he's doing more than I am. The comparison thing, and social media has blown that out of the water. You used to only be able to compare to like the guys in your building or maybe guys on the team in the town over. Social media has allowed us to see shit like all over the world. And now we're really comparing, right? So that world is just so influential in what we do, to pack that stuff into it and to show them, look, man, you do what I tell you. You got to have some blind faith here. Just trust that I know what to do, right? And then that's up to the coach to actually have a friggin' clue. And you need to go and do research and study and look at different things, right? Because again, back to the point of there's 1,000 ways to win, right? What works best for your program, your kids, and that's why what we do here on the podcast in talking to guys all over from all walks of life about what do you do as your team, or, hey, this nutritionist says do this, or when you're we have motivational guys on here, we have nutritionists, we have, mental health advocates, right? Like, we have all of it, and everything adds to kind of forming what I am and constantly evolving as a coach. If you're not learning new things and you're still doing, stuck in your old ways, well, good luck, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, you got to embrace some of these things. I'm not saying you have to like it, but again, it's not about you. It's about your kids. So what's going to work best for them, right? And that's our job as coaches. I think that's a really important part of it, but you have to be able to connect. And if you can't connect, you better have assistant coaches that connect, right? Or you better have somebody, good cop, bad cop, right? Like, every kid, we can all remember teachers or coaches that we despised, and then teachers or coaches that we absolutely loved, and we probably flourished in that. And it's one of those points that I tell kids that want to play in college, like, you really got to get to know as much as you can before you make that decision. You know what I'm saying? Because, not everybody works the right way, or it's not the right fit. So you got to figure that out on your own. I can tell you what it is, but you got to see it and you got to experience it back and come in circle with it. Like, experience is the best teacher. You got to be in it to figure it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And going off that, experience is the best teacher. I tell kids all that all the time. Like, you are going to fail at some point in this entire school year. You are going to fail. It's just, what is the response to that failing? Is it, well, I failed, well, I'm never going to do this ever again? If people had that mentality, we would be so far back as a civilization, as a
Right.
society,
Are you gonna
as a
quit? Right? Like, are you gonna quit? Put your head down and pout and quit and make excuses, right? Or are you gonna kind of like, man up, right? Old school term, like, go man up. And because that's what life is going to be, dude. Like, you're going to get hit in the face. Things are going to suck, right? And it might be miserable, but like, you're going to have to dig your way out on your own. You're not going to have me here as a coach, or you're not going to be in school in that little protective bubble. You're in the real world, dude. And that's a mean place. It's a real place. And I just hope that, like, my players, our players, I should say, right, go through a little bit of that and taste it and kind of see it and experience it on a smaller level, because you're going to experience it on a real level as you're, as an adult in the real world. I think that's why, giving those kids those tools to know how to navigate that when stuff does go awry and things suck, right? Like, you got to fight through it. We use this, and it really works for us because we live close to the beach, right? And we always talk about guys like, when we start a game, we're in the surf, right? Like, the sand is mushy. Our feet are getting caught. The waves are hitting us all over the place, right? We can still feel the bottom, but we got to keep going. We got to just keep fighting. We got to get through those waves, and we got to drag them into deep water. And once we're in that deep water, that's where we live, right? Because we're better conditioned and we work harder and all of that. And it's, you just got to get through that rough patch, right? And look, you may get the rip current may pull you back into it, and then you got to fight to get back into the deep water again. And it works for our guys. They buy into that a little bit. It's pretty cool, right? Our coach, heard it somewhere, and because look, I ain't the smartest tool in the shed, right? And as every sharpest tool in the shed, I should say. But look, you got to figure out some way to motivate guys, and what works for some might not work for others. But that's on you as a coach. That works for us. And I mean, look, I know, like, here at our home state, Rutgers, they use chop, like, just keep chopping and that tree's going to fall, right? Everybody has their own little mantra. Dragging them through the water has worked for us, right? But I think every school, every program, like your team, you got to have something like that to motivate these guys, because not everybody is motivated in the same way, right? Like, some guys are internal. They have like me type goals, right? But it's football ultimate team game. So that's a different beast in itself, and you're working with like a lot of guys. I mean, it's not a basketball team with 15 players. Like, we got 70 dudes out here, bro. Like, and that's why for me, doing the sub varsity stuff allows me to interact with every player, right? Like, I coach special teams too as well, so it allows me to work with every position group, right? If I was just the receivers coach, I would only work with receivers. If I only coach, I would, like, specials allows me to kind of work with everybody, but also being in the weight room and seeing them allows me to work with everybody. One of the little tips too, I always do, like, I try to interact with every kid and say their name every day, right? Every day. Whether it's, hey, Kellen, what's going on? Or, hey, bro, like, hey, Steve, nice route, right? Like, dude, that little bit, you might be the only conversation they have with anybody the entire freaking day. You don't know, right? That's your job. As a strength coach, it allows you to get on that next level, that more personal level of like, this is hard and I'm here for you. I got your back, but you got to do it, right? Like, I'll get you there, but you got to keep swimming. You got to fight through the current. You got to get into the deep water.
And I've used this, and it's kind of new for me to kind of be that motivational piece. I've always been, the kind of the soft-spoken introvert, and a job that you need to be extroverted and kind of
total opposite.
Up, yeah, total opposite.
Yeah, you gotta be that in your face type of human being.
And I talk about what's called, for us, it's the last punch mentality. It's like, either you're gonna get punched first or you're gonna swing first, and everything in the middle really doesn't matter, as long as at the end of that fight, at the end of that game, you throw that last punch and they go down. And that's kind of the mentality we kind of I've adopted with our football team is, you're going to get punched in the mouth. I don't care what team you're playing. It could be the 0-8 team that is at the bottom of your district. I don't care. Said they're going to punch you in the mouth. But we throw that last punch and we end it. And that's done. And
couldn't agree more.
The kids have kind of adopted to that. Said, all right, we're finishing this. Said, all right, cool,
right,
great.
We're throwing that last punch, like, we're good, and that's awesome, Coach. Man, I've taken up too much of your time. I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great talking to you, learning about your program, kind of what you do. Look, let guys know kind of where you are, because look, I found you on X and Twitter, whatever the hell people want to call it now. I just loved some of the stuff that you were posting. I thoroughly enjoy talking to other coaches and kind of how they do things, where they're at. Because look, again, going back to it, like there's a million ways to win, 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right? So whatever, what works for some might not work for others, but vice versa. But I really appreciate you, Coach, taking the time and telling us a little bit about kind of how you do things and whatnot. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And thank you for allowing me to ramble on about, what we do here, a little bit of my backstory, the upbringing that, got to this point and everything else, man. It's awesome, man.
That's it, buddy. I appreciate it. Look, if there's anything we can ever do for you, please reach out. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck the rest of the way. Enjoy the rest of the school year, Coach. Hope and continue doing what you're doing, man. You're affecting lives in a great way. So appreciate you, man. We'll talk soon.
Likewise. Appreciate y'all.
All right, man. Have a good one. See you later.
You as well. Thank you.